me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, gotta feel the vengeance. In my thoughts.
Welcome back, everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment down below. And I know I'm wearing a different type of hat, but I just have to be so obsessed with my Miami Heat. I just needed to wear this hat on this podcast because it was just incredible where we're at right now. So it looks like we might be going to the finals. Actually, we either got or did not get yet into the finals. So we'll see what's going to happen. But today, we're going to talk about the breakout players that I see coming into 2023, all of the players that I think are going to have breakout seasons this coming year, and I'm pretty excited for a couple of them. So we'll get right into it. So number one, we're going to talk about, and we're going to group these two together because I believe that this year is going to be the year that they're going to break out. Mostly it's going to be Jalen Phillips. I think Jalen Phillips, what we have to understand about Jalen Phillips is that he has been pass rush attempts per how close he gets to the quarterback. He has been top 3 since last year. I mean, he was one of the best at getting close to the quarterback last year. And what we have to consider when it comes to this defense is it has changed significantly since last year. So one of the things that I want to go over is just going to be basically last year, the type of defense that we ran. We were susceptible to a lot of just being able to throw the ball out quick. So our defense was based upon blitzes, which of course you get to the quarterback quick, but for the most part you have to have corners that can take on the receivers. Well, Xavier Howard was injured, and honestly, Kader Kohou was great, but he's not like it was before where it was Xavier Howard and Byron Jones at their top peak selves. It was not the same thing. So the thing is that when it comes to pass rush, these guys were getting the ball out quick to different players, and our corners really couldn't cover the players as well. They weren't being put in the right positions because of Josh Boyer. Well, now that changes when you have Vic Fangio's defense, where you are going to have to hold the ball for a while. You are not going to get quick, easy, cheap plays. It's very hard to break down Vic Fangio's defense. And what that means for Jalen Phillips is there were a significant amount of times where Jalen Phillips was just a hair away from getting that quarterback. And the thing is they would get the ball out just quick enough so that Jalen Phillips could not get there. Well, that changes this year because now you put Jalen Phillips in one-on-one setups when he is facing the offense. And you have now a defense that can hold someone for a decently long amount of time. Jalen Phillips, that little hair of a second, that little hair that he had before he could get to the quarterback that he just couldn't get there, well, now he's getting there. And I think that is why this season coming up, Jalen Phillips is going to have a huge year, along with Bradley Chubb. I think Bradley Chubb, we forget we had just got him. He was learning the defense. He's learning through OTAs. It's not just a mid-season signing. And that's difficult for any player to get traded somewhere mid-season and to have to learn the whole entire playbook that is completely different than the place that he was at last. So what I'm going to say is that obviously Bradley Chubb, I think he's going to have a decent year. I think Jalen Phillips is going to have a Cameron Wake type of year where I think we're just going to put him in so many one-on-one matchups and he's going to win so much. I mean, if you watch Jalen Phillips last year, he beat a lot of the offensive linemen in the league when he was playing them. It's just that our defense would just let that quick throw up and he could not get to the quarterback quick enough. And I think that's going to change this year where now the quarterbacks have to diagnose what Vic Fangio is doing, and you're either going to throw an interception or Jalen Phillips is going to get you. And why I think Vic Fangio took this job is he saw Jalen Phillips. That was one of the prime reasons, is because you saw a guy that if you put him on one-on-one matchups, he's going to win. And now you give him a defense in the backfield that will not allow these plays to just completely come open right away. They have to develop. And with that case, Jalen Phillips is so fast and so strong. He's going to start getting to the quarterback. And like I said, I think he's going to have a Cameron Wake type of season because the defense is going to hold teams very much. I know everybody's going to fight me on this, but I think Austin Jackson is going to have a big year, and I'll tell you why. Because Austin Jackson, when he came into the league, of course, we were developing him, and of course, yes, I understand that he had a lot of different parts that were not working throughout the offense, but when you saw him in the preseason last year, he looked very much so like we could be something. And when you saw him play in the brief stint that he was playing in the New England game, when he was not injured, because he was injured later on in the year, when he was not injured, he started looking like the offensive line was molding itself together. Now, of course, we got Isaiah Wynn and we got Boye, and now you have depth in the line just in case he does go out. But I do believe that there is a big, significant chance that Austin Jackson will have a pretty decent year this year. And the reasoning by that is because, one, he's gone to Teron Armstead's trainer to learn offensive line. So there's an offensive line guru that a lot of the offensive linemen train at, a lot of the top ones, including Teron Armstead. He has just brought Austin Jackson there, and now you have a different coaching staff and a second year to get molded into the offense, where he never really had that before. We were switching our offense coordinators out, in and out, so much that he never could acclimate himself to the actual offense. Now he can. So Austin Jackson, I believe, is going to have a very good year. We'll see where he plays on the line. I think it's going to be right tackle. But I think he's going to have a pretty decent year. And I think, the thing is if he does have a good year, then no one's talking anymore. Obviously he has to shut the people up and he has to stay on the field. He's just like Tua. He has to stay on the field. He has to continue to progress. And I think when we look at last year in the preseason, he looked like he was progressing very much. And he got injured. It's unfortunate, but that happens in football. But now, this year, now he has a second year in the same offense, and he can now mold himself even better to this offensive line. So I think he's going to have an excellent year. Javon Holland is going to have an excellent year this year, and here's why. It's basically because in Vic Fangio's defense, they disguise the safeties a lot. So with Javon Holland last year, he was basically just the deep coverage guy that, if people let people through, it just, he had to cover everybody in the back end, if the corners couldn't cover. And, the blitzing and everything, it worked decently with the safeties. But again, once we played good teams, they just took advantage of us, and it put Javon Holland in a lot of bad positions that were just unwinnable, to beat the opposing offense. So now with Vic Fangio, he's going to put Javon Holland in a lot more winning positions. You got to look at Jeffrey Simmons or Justin Simmons from the Broncos, and every team that Vic Fangio has been on, there's been a safety that has been a stud. Javon Holland has all the talent in the world, and we knew that he was going to be, what was supposedly be a superstar safety last year. And it's already looking like that because he already intercepted someone in OTAs. So you just have to put this guy in the right position. And I think with this coming year, disguising him and allowing him to either, move into middle zones and utilize his best traits, which is his instincts and his eyes. That's what Javon Holland does. So when you try and force him to just be a deep safety, well, it takes away a lot of the things that he is good at doing, which is using his instincts, allowing himself to see where he needs to go, being able to put hits on the offensive players because he can lay stick when he hits someone. And I think we all saw that last year. Every time he tackled someone, they went flying. So now you put the guy in a position to actually win and be a really good safety, and to be able to use his instincts to his advantage now, instead of just trying to figure out who's the receiver that's getting loose on whoever is covering him. Now you put him in a position where he can now confuse the quarterback with what he's trying to do and where he's going. And that's going to allow him to have a lot more interceptions. I think he's going to have at least 4, maybe 5 this year. And I think he's just going to have just a stellar year. The last one, and if you know my channel, you know it very well. You know who I'm picking. It's Tua. Tua's going to have a humongous season this year, and here's why. You have depth at the offensive line. You have fixed that he has other options now besides Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you have given him tight ends that can block. So now you have given him a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. You have the other running backs to run the ball. You have more depth at the offensive line. You have much more depth and better receivers behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, because again, Trent Sherfield was an okay receiver, but he's not, I think Chosen Anderson is probably better, and even Braxton Berrios is probably on the same level as Trent Sherfield. Now you have depth behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and now you have tight ends that can block, and you can disguise more things, whereas before you have Gesicki on the field, you have to run a certain type of play. Tua has been taking jiu-jitsu lessons. Tua has been working his butt off the whole offseason to become better. And this year, I think we're just going to silence everybody this year. You know, you talk about the concussions. I get it, but, you know, that's why he took the jiu-jitsu classes. That's why if you really study jiu-jitsu, you learn the art of falling so that you don't injure yourself. So now he has had a whole offseason of that. He has been practicing with all his receivers where they're not as new before. Now he has the receiver down packed with his connection with his players because, of course, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, it's very difficult to judge them because they're both fast, but one's a little faster than the other. So sometimes you underthrow it, sometimes you overthrow it. Now he has that chemistry with his receivers, and he has multiple fast receivers, so he just has to basically launch the ball on every single play whenever he's throwing the ball. And you have more options that he can target, whereas now he has players that can give him more options in the middle and in the backfield, where if things aren't opening up, he doesn't have to make a crazy play. He can just dump it off somewhere, and you have that option, whereas before you didn't have that. I really do think that Tua is just going to have an incredible year this year. And I think it's going to be a pleasure to witness it as a fan. You know, we haven't had a quarterback like this since Dan Marino. And because you can't compare him to Pennington, because Pennington just threw dinks and dunks. I mean, Tua, he can throw the ball all over the place, and he has the accuracy that we have not seen for a very long time. And I think you put all that together, and then on top of that, you have the second year of the same offense instead of having different offense coordinators every single year. Now you can make him into the superstar quarterback that he is going to be. And I think this year he's going to showcase that. And he's going to be my top breakout player of 2023. And I think he's going to shut up a lot of haters this year. And that Tua talk is finally going to be over. You know what I'm saying? Because it's getting annoying. But just want to make a quick video on all the breakout players that I see happening for 2023. As always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Fins up. Peace.